K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks. Well, happy, what is this, Tuesday evening? Why does it already feel like it ought to be Friday? Anybody else besides me feeling that way? Oh, wait, probably just me. Okay, so anyway, this is America Off the Rails. I am your host, the Rowdy One, a.k.a. Rick Robinson. We will be discussing quite a few things this evening. Of course, for those of you listening in your usual places, you can obviously probably see the title of the show. Titles are usually available through our speaker platform, also through iHeart and Stitcher. However, if you are listening live through any other method, including, but not limited to, K98talk.com and TuneIn Radio, you may not see the title. So the title for this episode is There a War on Local PD? Now, I can give you my answer right now, and you probably already know what it is, but we'll save that for later in the show. I do have something I kind of want to talk about first, because it came up on Twitter last night. And for those of you who aren't following me on there yet, but you listen here, what's the matter? You got social media issues? You afraid to hang out and talk with a guy? I mean, come on. So anyway, follow me, go here now, click the button, _R_OKC. You can find me on Twitter, click follow, we'll talk, we'll hang out, we'll chat, we'll talk smack about liberals. Come on, it'll be fun. I mean, you know, I'm a reasonable guy, I have conversations with them too, but then occasionally, there's just one where you just, it's just one of those things where, they weren't necessarily just dropped on their head as a child. They were dribbled like a damn basketball, like when they were a child. I mean, and you can tell it. And no, this isn't directed at the person that I'm about to talk about. But I did make that comment last night just because, I was producing Grouchy's show last night. So if anybody missed it, you can go find it live on our podcast page. Basically, he... well, let's just put it this way. Stick a fork in Hillary Clinton because she's done. He went through page after page after page of all the things that she's been involved in ever since Watergate. That nobody's, we've all talked about them here and there, but nobody's connected all the dots before. So definitely worth the listen, so go back and check it out. And honestly, for some of that, I may actually start... I'm toying with the idea of maybe putting some of the better segments just up on YouTube. Because, some of us talk for an hour, some of us talk for more than an hour, and some of you guys after like 10 minutes are like, yeah, I really got everything I kind of needed from this one. I'll be back tomorrow. Well, thanks, it's not like we put a lot of work into these things or anything. Go back to your turnovers and your Pop-Tarts and whatever else it is holding your attention. No, I'm just playing. All right, but anyway, so back to what I was talking about before I got distracted. Last night on Twitter, there was a bit of a conversation going, and of course, my good friend Polita Bunny always has to be basically out there, the forefront, leading the charge, which is awesome. I wish I could drum up half the publicity she does, because all she's got to do is look at you crazy and somebody starts screaming and yelling. So anyway, me being the lovable, affable guy I am, there is a particular liberal who keeps trying to get Bunny's attention. So, of course, I start trying to be funny. She doesn't find it humorous. This being the troll, not Bunny. I don't know if Bunny did or not. She favorited him, so I'm assuming she was at least chuckling. But anyway, so a few minutes later, after I'm done with the whole running the board for Grouchy, I actually seriously start having a conversation with this person. And during the course of the conversation, I keep pointing out, you keep going back to Muslims and how all the Tea Party folks are terrified of Muslims. Let me explain to you why I don't trust Muslims. And I've said this before, and I will say it again, and I have friends who are Muslim who completely understand where I'm coming from, and they tell me, it's your opinion, I'm not going to not talk to you anymore, I just want you to understand that I'm not one of these people. And I'm like, I'm glad you're telling me that. I am going to take that at face value until you start swinging a sword at me, and then we may or may not have a problem, and then we both chuckle and life goes on. But anyway, so one of the things that we kept talking about over and over again was the differences between Christianity and the Islamic religion, because the simple fact of the matter is, Christianity, there was a Reformation moment. There was a moment where everything went from smite, wrath, thunder, lightning, floods, kill everybody that moves that's different than you are, to turn the other cheek. The Islamic faith is still in that fire, brimstone, flood, thunder, lightning, kill everybody that's different than you. There's been no reformation there. So is it honestly the peaceful, moderate Muslims that are being honest with folks? Or are they trying to basically say, well, this gives me enough of the answers for the peace that I need, but I'm not going to... is there such a thing as a cafeteria Muslim? You know how they talk about cafeteria Christians? Can they pick and choose what they want? Because, as a good buddy of mine who has come on the show a few times and actually has a show over on Blog Talk Radio that you can hear right here on K98 Talk as well, which is Voice of Global Freedom Radio. My boy Yoda, I say my boy, but he's an old guy, and he'll tell you that much. So he may smack me if he ever meets me because I keep calling him my boy. But anyway, my friend Yoda says over and over again, you can be a Catholic with a small c. You can even be a Christian with a small c, but there really is no way to be a Muslim with a small m. So the thing that has us all concerned is their book specifically says it is okay for those of the Islamic faith to be dishonest with those who are not of the Islamic faith, and even more so to those that have been shown what they call the truth of the Islamic faith and have turned their back on it. So I ask the same question I always ask: how am I supposed to be able to trust them? Of course, I never really got an answer. I got a deflection about how, since I'm a Christian and she's an atheist, that obviously the reformation of religious texts must be a big deal to me. And I'm thinking, well, at least that book kind of explains where the change in mindset comes from. The Quran, not so much. And some of the accompanying texts are even worse. So anyway, long story short, during the course of this conversation, I finally just point blank ask her, like, okay, honest, real, truth answer question. Which one is worse? Because we got onto the gay bashing thing that goes on here in America and how homosexuals shouldn't marry and this, that, and the other. Okay, so I finally just asked her point blank, which one is worse? Refusing to make a cake for a gay couple that are wanting to get married, or beheading the same gay couple because they want to get married? The response was, the tragedy is the cake, because in this country, everyone's supposed to be free and created equally. Okay. So let's not focus on the fact that, everywhere else in the world, other than a few places that are trying to be civilized, most Middle Eastern countries, let's face it, Islam is on the rise almost everywhere. So gays and Christians and everybody else are starting to be beheaded, but no, let's throw a fit over the fact that certain people don't want to make gay couples wedding cakes. I mean, look, I get it. You can look at it and say all day that it's discriminatory and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But the simple fact of the matter is, Why are we making people do things they don't want to do? This isn't as simple as looking at it and going, well, white guy, black woman, yeah, they should be able to marry each other if they want. You are talking about something that actually goes against most of the laws of human nature. I'm not saying I'm judging you for it, I'm just making a statement. I don't judge anyone as much as possible. Unless you're an idiot, then we'll talk. I try not to judge people because I don't know who you are. I don't walk in your shoes, and I'm sorry, if Adam and Steve want to go hook up and do some crazy stuff in their bedroom, that's on them. But don't start making me do things that expressly go against my personal beliefs just because of the fact that you have a different partner than I do. That's just crazy. And if that makes me homophobic or racist, homophobic, or bigoted, I really don't give a damn. Because, again, I don't care who you marry, what you do behind closed doors, but I don't want to have to deal with it. If that makes me old and crotchety, well, fine, I will take that. Doesn't mean that I don't want you to be happy. Doesn't mean that I don't think you should be able to marry whoever the heck you decide you want to marry. Although I really wish we could get away from the word marriage because, it kind of has biblical connotations, and we're kind of throwing that out the window. Could you guys have not been happy when someone made the suggestion of civil unions and just left it at that? Oh no, we have to have a marriage. It has to be sanctified. By whom exactly? Okay, but anyway, so at this point I'm kind of going off in the wrong direction. So we're going to rein this back in. But anyway, so long story short, I never really got an answer other than that little flippant one about, well, it's a tragedy in my estimation because we're supposed to all be free here. They are free. They're able to love who they want to love, live with who they want to live with, and all we're asking is for those of us that have an issue with it to be left alone. Why is that a problem? Okay. So, to the main topic of the day. Is there a war on your local police department? Some of you may have heard the recent stories about the fact that the Department of Justice is starting to assume control in certain police departments. This scares the bejesus out of me. In case anybody's listening and you do want to call in and talk about that, you are more than welcome to do so. The number you can reach us at is 408 68. I think it's 682-8255. 1 second, let me grab that real quick. One of these days, I'm actually going to be able to remember this number. Anyway, the last 4 digits spell out talk. It's always the ones in the middle that give me a hard time, so bear with me for just 1 second, because I know I have it here somewhere. Maybe. Okay, where'd it go? Because I know it was in here. Here in a second, maybe I'll start humming the Jeopardy theme or something. Do 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 doot 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 don't. It's not here. Weird. I know I sent it to Bryce the other day because he was asking for it, so I just thought, hey, I'll go into messages, and yeah, it's not here. Okay, so there we go. Here we go. I was overlooking it. 408-681-8255. Ha, I was almost right. 408-681-8255. Lines will be open for the duration of the show. I do not have a call screener, so you'll basically be put straight through to me, so knock yourselves out. Okay. So, is there a war on local PD? Well, let me just kind of give you where I'm coming from on this, because there has been a nice little story that broke, and I have to be honest, Bryce and I talked about a lot of this on Finding Common Ground, and I kind of took his head off because he was being the good little liberal water holder and be like, yeah, it can't, The thing about it is, there's no way that you can't look at those numbers and say that Ferguson cops are racist, and, there's no reason there should be 90% white police officers in a town. There's no reason there should be so many black people that get pulled over and blah, 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 blah. So needless to say, I kind of tore him up on one and down the other. So, the funny thing is, shortly after that particular segment and what I talked about on Saturday, I started scrolling through social media, and I found an article from the New York Post, headlined as follows: Ferguson fake out, Justice Department's bogus report. So, addressing the nation from Selma, Alabama, ironically, on Saturday, President Obama, or as I like to call him, Resident blah blah blah, said that while racism may be no longer endemic as it was 50 years ago, his Justice Department's report on Ferguson shows that the nation's racial history still casts a long shadow upon us. Sorry, the Justice Report doesn't prove disparate treatment, let alone discrimination. In fact, it looks more like something ginned up to distract from the embarrassing fact that Justice in another report released the same day wound up fully vindicating the findings of the Ferguson grand jury. Oh no, I know you can't see it because I don't have a webcam, but that big old sigh you just heard, that was my Home Alone shocked face. Starting with, Ferguson grand jury. Racism is serious, and those engaging in it should be shamed. But we should have real evidence before accusing others of it. And every one of the Justice Report's main claims of evidence of discrimination falls short, starting with the primary numerical claim. The report notes on page 4, Ferguson's law enforcement practices overwhelmingly impact African Americans. Data collected by the Ferguson Police Department from 2012 to 2014 shows that African Americans account for 85% of vehicle stops, 90% of citations, and 93% of arrests made by Ferguson Police Department officers, despite comprising only 67% of Ferguson's population. Those statistics do not, I repeat, do not prove racism, because blacks don't commit traffic offenses at the same rate as other population groups. The Bureau of Justice Statistics 2011 Police Public Contact Survey indicates that nationwide, blacks were 31% more likely than whites to be pulled over for a traffic stop. Ferguson is a black majority town. If its blacks were pulled over at the same rate as blacks nationally, that would account for 87.5% of traffic stops. In other words, the numbers actually suggest that Ferguson's police may be slightly less likely to pull over black drivers than their national counterparts. They certainly don't show that Ferguson is a hotbed of racism. Critics may assert that 31% more likely figure simply shows that racism is endemic to police forces nationwide. The survey also reveals that men are 42% more likely than women to be pulled over for traffic stops. Should we conclude the police are biased against men, or that men drive more recklessly? I wish it was the latter, but I'm pretty sure it's the former. I said that backwards. Anyway, you know what I mean. I wish we could prove bias, but let's just face it. We drive crazy. I'm a guy. I'll admit it. In fact, blacks die in car accidents at a rate about twice their share of car owners. In 2006, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration study found that black drivers who were killed in accidents have the highest rate of past convictions for speeding and for other moving violations. This suggests that there are a lot of unsafe black drivers, not racism. The Justice Department on Ferguson the Justice Report on Ferguson continues. African Americans are at least 50% more likely to have their cases lead to an arrest warrant and account for 92% of cases in which an arrest warrant was issued by the Ferguson Municipal Court in 2013. Again, this pretends that a mere difference is evidence of discrimination, but the report statistic doesn't even look at whether people pay their fine or appear in court, something that makes a big difference in whether to issue a warrant. Could it be that blacks are more likely to face particularly serious charges? Since Justice has gone through the case files, it could easily have answered the question. Perhaps it didn't like the answers. Unfortunately, no national data are available for comparison. Another major complaint in the Justice Report, Most strikingly, the court issues municipal arrest warrants not on the basis of public safety needs, but rather as a routine response to missed court appearances and required fine payments. If you think that this is unique to Ferguson, try not paying your next speeding ticket. As for the anecdotal evidence, Justice offers to bring home this complaint. Well, here's an anecdote from Washington, D.C., a town with a black mayor and a black majority city council. Megan Johnson, a black D.C. woman, recently failed to pay 10 parking tickets within the allotted 30 days. The city doubled her fines from $500 to $1,000, then booted, towed, and sold her car, and charged her $700 for towing and impounding it. D.C. sold the car at auction for $500 and won't even credit that amount to what she owes. It's now attaching her tax refunds. Justice's Ferguson anecdotes no more prove racism than Megan Johnson's experience proves the D.C. government is racist. Finally, for direct evidence of racial bias, the report describes seven whopping emails from 2008 to 2011 that Justice describes as offensive to blacks, women, Muslims, President Obama and his wife, and possibly people of mixed race. But this begs some questions. Did only one or two of the 53 officers send the emails? Did the objectionable emails end in 2011 because those officers no longer worked for the department, or were they told to stop? The Justice Department report reads as a prosecutor's brief, not an unbiased attempt to get at the truth, with evidence carefully selected and portrayed in the strongest possible light. Differences don't necessarily imply racism, but the Obama Justice Department does not seem to care. And this again was from the New York Post, Dateline, March 9th, 2015, 8:37 p.m. And it was written by, might as well give him credit, John R. Lott. He's the president of Crime Prevention Research Center and former chief economist for the United States Sentencing Commission. And so you are free to go ahead and go back and reread that article at your leisure. And you can fact check those sources, which I have done. The numbers do match. One of the things, because me being the neener haha guy I am, as soon as I saw the article and realized what it was saying, I kind of showed it to Bryce and said, hey, this kind of goes along with everything that I said today, and I said it even before the article. So he pointed out that the New York Post is not exactly the most unbiased paper in the world, and they have occasionally been accused of biased journalism and of some such thing. And I'm like, okay, well, they did name their sources, a few of them. So I did look, and the numbers do match. So, why is this such a big deal, you might ask? Why has this now been the second show that I have basically devoted to this particular topic in the last week? And honestly, about the fourth or fifth time I've discussed this since the Ferguson incident originally happened. First of all, I'm tired of being called a racist. I've lost friends over the Ferguson situation because I was pointing out the fact, which is an honest statement, for those of you that are complaining about everything and then talking about how unfair it is, you probably shouldn't have been looting things on national TV with a hoodie pulled over your face. I mean, it doesn't help your cause to tell people how mistreated and unfortunate you are when as soon as something goes wrong, you decide it's time to start taking what you feel belongs to you, or taking what you feel you should have had in the first place. Now, again, why does this matter? Because, in case you haven't noticed it, they are trying to pigeonhole the entire population of the country. By pigeonhole, I mean they have us divided by color, by creed, by economic status, by where we live, by where we work. So, what do you think their intentions are? Because I can tell you what their intentions are, at least what I'm pretty sure their intentions are. And at this point, I'm sad to say I'm not sure it's any different for either a Republican or a Democrat. They want us dependent on them. They want us dependent on the national government. So why is it a big deal that they're suddenly now starting to point out all of these little things? And I know some of you are screaming, but they're not little. In this particular circumstance, yeah, they kind of were. Because the guy was exonerated several times. And Eric Holder, probably the worst AG we've ever had, just keeps having to try to stick his nose in things over and over and over again. And then when he couldn't find anything to really help the situation and help everybody feel better with this particular situation, he decided to go on a witch hunt into the police department. I mean, you're telling me out of a 90% white population, there were 7 racist emails, and most of them were from years ago. Nobody's talking about the other 10% of the population. What kind of emails did they have? Were there any off-color comments from Mexicans about blacks, or blacks about Mexicans, or Mexicans about whites, or blacks about whites? You're telling me that with a 10% population, they couldn't find one? Not even one email that was off-color about anything other than the people of color? I find that really, really hard to believe. Can I just say that now? But again, this wasn't about finding the truth. This was about saving face. They went into this fully expecting that they would be able to find something to pin on Darren Wilson. When they couldn't find it, they had to justify the time. They had to justify the money. They had to justify the fact that we had not only Eric Holder, but Obama on national TV talking about Ferguson. Do you want to know what really pisses me off about that entire situation? He calls a press conference over the Ferguson situation. Twice now, police officers have been gunned down in the streets. What has he done? What has he said? He wants things this way. And again, why does he want things this way? Because it's about control. If he can nationalize the police force, the government has more control. And if they can pick apart the local police force, people will start begging them to nationalize the police force. Because they're going to put it in the worst possible light. It's already starting to happen. You see all of these pictures now starting to pop up all over Facebook that show the European cop cars that are brightly colored, well lit, they stand out. And then you have the ticket shark cars here in America that are all over the highways and you can't see it's a cop till it's too late. Because they're, in everyone's estimation, it's because, well, they're just after money. That's why they don't want you to know they're there. No, what they want you to realize is there could be one of them pretty much anywhere you look, so drive the damn speed limit, and if you choose not to do that, you risk getting a ticket. Just like if you choose not to wear a seatbelt, you risk getting a ticket. Now, I will give you my honest opinion on the seatbelt situation, and I've done it before. If you are below the age of 18, then as far as I'm concerned, legally, whoever is responsible for you should make you wear a seatbelt. Once you are above the age of 18, you should have the right to look at the world and say, F you, I don't want to wear a seatbelt. Now, I understand you nanny staters, some of you like that listen just because you like to get to the point where, you know, I'm about to have my head explode. Some of you right now are like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. He just said that if you're an adult, you should be allowed not to wear a seatbelt. It's called freedom. You know, you guys talk about freedom of choice. But the only freedom of choice you want to offer is when somebody gets to kill their child or not. And yeah, I said that way. Quote me on it, because I've told you before. I'm not going to judge you for it, but I'm also not going to tell you that I don't think it's murder. Because it is. And that's the biggest thing that everybody's not talking about. When you have an abortion, you are murdering a child. If you can live with that and look yourself in the mirror with it, fine. That's on you. I can't. So I'm going to make sure that anybody that I have me trying to talk, take 42, any type of a sphere of influence over, I'm definitely going to try to make sure that I give them other alternatives. Because that's what we should do. But again, some of you don't realize the steps they've already taken to try to get control over us. This is the next step. They've already basically Gestapo-ized the IRS. You've already seen all the pictures floating around of vehicles that say National Police on them. Did you think it was a joke? Do you think they haven't already been thinking about this idea? Because if they can nationalize the police force, they get to say everything about everything because it's a national police force. I'm telling you, you can get ready to add the extra S to the abbreviation of our country any day now, because it's not the USA anymore. It's the closest to the USSA that I think I've ever seen. I mean, it really has gotten to the point where it is almost the United Socialist States of America. I mean, so if that's the direction we're going to go, then let's just go for it and be done with it and let everything die. But if that's not where you want to go, then you need to stand up. Get off the couch. Put down the remote. Get involved. Write articles. Make flyers. Write your congressman. Put together a blog that talks about what you think ought to happen in the country. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just do it. Because there's going to come a time when soon enough there will be nothing left for us to fight over because we've all decided to wait around too much. And we've waited too long, and we're nearly there. Alright, so we have come to the bottom of the hour. I am going to have to take a really quick break, otherwise somebody may start yelling at me, and I don't like being yelled at. So we'll be right back here in just a couple minutes with the remainder of the America Off the Rails show. Alright, folks, again, this is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be right back after these commercial messages. Don't go anywhere! Oops. You guys got a little bit of an echo there for a second. My bad, a little slow on the uptake today. It happens.
Hey y'all, this is Sam Janney, also known as The Bunny, and you're listening to America Off the Rails.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
Hi, I'm Steve Long of Liberty Unfiltered. If you're tired of hearing the same Republican and Democrat banner from the mainstream media, join me on Wednesday nights at 9 H Central as I crawl out of the cesspool of partisan politics and bring the fight for freedom against the advocates of big government to the masses.
K98Talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
Hey, it's Cliff Davis from KLCI-FM, the best radio station in the world. Coming soon. Stay tuned.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rail. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network. Tune into The Family Factor with Denny C. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 5 a.m. as he looks at all the challenges facing the family today. Denny will give you a refreshingly new look at tackling some of the biggest issues. So start your day off on the right foot with Denny C. and The Family Factor, right here on K98Talk.com.
Telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is Rick Robinson, and you are listening to America Off the Rails on this very special episode of Is There a War on the Police Departments in America? Now, what we've been talking about up until now has been the whole Justice Department basically attacking Ferguson and Darren Wilson. And the simple fact of the matter is they came up short, so they decided to go after the entire department, and their entire case for that completely falls apart if you really stop and look at the numbers. So again, I ask you, why are they trying to get people so emotionally invested in this? It's because they want us to think the same thing they want us to think every single time. We're busy. We have more important things to focus on. We need to make sure that our families are taken care of, and we need to make sure that we're keeping up with the Joneses. So this little police problem over here, yeah, that's all right. You go back to sleep. Just close your eyes. Just close your eyes. It'll be all right. Just close them. What we're going to do is we're going to step in as your government, or as Chris Rock likes to call us, your parents, and we're gonna do what's best for you, and we're gonna take control of your police department. And we're going to nationalize it, and then we're going to make sure that everything's fair and equitable, and there won't be all this meanness, and there won't be all this black targeting. And don't you worry. Don't you like it when I stroke your hair like that? Doesn't it make you feel better? Yeah, I know, I'm creeping myself out here, but come on, let's be honest. That's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get everybody stirred up so then they can lull everybody back to sleep, because what they're going to do is say, hey, now that you're all worked up and you're mad as heck, and we're going to fix it for you because we're the government and we're here to help. I got to tell you, that's something Ronald Reagan did get right. Those are some pretty scary words. We are from the government and we are here to help, because everything they touch, they screw up. Everything they touch, they screw up. Come on, before World War II, did we even have a tax system? We still had roads. We still had bridges. We still had cars. We had almost everything that we have now, except when you fell down, your neighbors helped pick you back up, not the government. Think about it for a second. We used to know who our neighbors were. Some of us still try to. But there used to be a time when you couldn't go three doors down the street and not know who it was that you were talking to. Now you're lucky if you know who the neighbors are that are right around you. Half the time, even if you do know them, you're so scared of them you don't want to talk to them. Hey, there's a new couple that moved in down the street there. Martha, we should go say hello. Jim, have you looked to see what's in their windows? I don't think I want to go over there, honey. I mean, they got bats hanging from the windows, and they got black nail polish, and they got black wigs on. And I mean, come on, you know, freedom of expression is one thing, but when you're going out of your way to creep out your neighbors, there's something wrong with that. Why have we become so antisocial? That is one of the amazing things about our current society. You get some folks in front of a computer, they can talk to people from Russia like there's no problem at all. Can't talk to the same people talk to people that are 5 feet away from you at a dinner table, but you can talk to people that are half a world away as long as you're typing. And it all goes back to the same thing. It's all about control. They want you disconnected from the world around you. They want you to fear the world around you, because the more of the world around you that you fear, the more likely they are to be able to keep control. And that's what all of this comes back to again and again and again and again. Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening with the IRS. They've basically turned them into an enforcement arm for the Obama administration. Do you not think that they're going to at some point start using that for more control? That's like right now, today, if you go file your taxes and your tax preparer asks you, do you have insurance? This year you can lie. Next year they're going to check on you. And you better hope you're not lying, because they're going to get you. I mean, you want to talk about things they broke. Remember when Obamacare was first talked about? And, oh, yeah, we're going to have all of these hearings on C-SPAN, and you're going to get to see everything up front. You're going to know everything that's in that bill before we even put it in there. And that goes from the most transparent administration ever to, let me be clear, per Nancy Pelosi, we have to pass this bill to find out what's in it. I mean, you want to talk bait and switch? And now we've already got towns that are being taken over by the Justice Department as far as their police departments go. Do you not think this is a trend that will continue? Do you not see where the writing on the wall is heading? We've already given government control over our healthcare. We just don't realize it yet, because it was another one of those things of, no, it's all right. We're going to take care of you. There's too many of you that can't afford insurance with the system that we have right now. So, we're going to take care of it for you. You just close your eyes and you relax. And when you wake up, you'll have health insurance. Instead, now you have woken up, some of you, and you have less hours than you had before it passed, because now your employer won't pay you for 40 hours a week, because if they do that, they are mandated to put you on health care, which they can't afford, because this was nothing but a big reach around to the insurance companies. But here's the thing. Again, focus on the control. What has Obama said before that he wants? Oh, not in public, not in the press conferences, but what has he said behind closed doors? He supports single payer. So do you really think that the fact that this has been a mess, and before anybody says anything, no, I'm not military, but I grew up in a military house, and I grew up on Air Force bases. So in what can only be termed the country's, or one of the country's biggest Charlie Foxtrots, we now have the Affordable Care Act, or as I like to call it, the Abominable Care Act. And thanks to this monstrous piece of legislation that nobody in Congress bothered to probably read, nor gave a damn one way or the other, because who cares? They exempted themselves from it. What do they give a damn for? So let's just be real and let's be clear. They don't give a damn because they exempted themselves. But again, going back to the control, look at what the ACA has done. Another big surprise that a lot of folks didn't know is, I hope you don't have any outstanding hospital bills, because now that the ACA is all up in your medical coverage Kool-Aid, if you owe a hospital bill, they can take that ish right out of your federal tax return and your state tax return. Oh joy. So yeah, let's keep flirting with the idea of giving them more and more control. They already, by the time we realize everything that they're going to do with this medical system, they will already have control of us from cradle to grave. Now we're about, and some of us are willingly doing it, about to turn over control of our police department. Why? What is the matter with you people? Freedom. Does anybody even know what that word means anymore? Because everybody uses it a lot. I don't get the impression that very many people actually know what it means anymore. Because freedom isn't about regulating other people's choices. This is one of the reasons why I say, yes, I will tell you exactly how I feel on every issue you want to put in front of me. But that does not mean that I'm going to hold everyone in the country to that same standard, because I can't. Because my moral compass doesn't allow me to do that. And even if I feel it's wrong, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be wrong to someone else. But it doesn't mean that I won't shout from the rooftops why I think it's a bad idea, which I have done and will continue to do over and over and over again. But at the same time, when are the rest of you going to wake up? What does it take? Everybody wants to talk about how great it is that now all of a sudden all of these people that weren't having their marriages recognized before are being recognized. So never mind the fact that quite a large segment of the population actually religiously believes that that's not correct. Why are their beliefs any better or worse than yours? That's what I don't understand. We say we want everybody to be treated fair and equally, but the only people that don't ever seem to get any fair and equitable treatment are the ones that stand up and say, hey, I'm sorry, what you're asking me to do right now violates my personal religious beliefs, and they're told to go fly a kite. And again, I know some of you were like, where's he going with this? Why is he going back to this? It's about control. Everything this administration has done from day one has been about control. You don't believe me? Go back and look. They have been systematically undermining our law enforcement. Start with the gun running. Look at what they've done to Border Patrol. Now they've got everybody's attention turned to local law enforcement. I'm telling you, it's all about control. They're going to systematically dismantle the things that make us feel safe, and then they're going to rebuild them in their image. So then we are dependent on them, not only for our health care, because at some point that is what's going to happen. We're also going to be dependent on them for our safety. Because once they have that, once they have not only control of what keeps us safe at night, but what keeps us safe, happy, and well, all they've got to do is say, vote for me or else. Vote for me or else. Those days are coming. It really is about to be that simple. The country that we know, the country that we love, the country that some of you have bled for, the country that some of your brethren and your sisters have died for, is crumbling around our eyes. And we are watching it right in front of our eyes, all around us. We're watching it happen. And we're sitting here, and we're talking about it, and we're complaining about it, and nobody's doing anything. There are so many things that we could do. So many things that we should do. And Mo, before anybody starts talking about it, I'm not talking about picking up a weapon. I'm talking about write your congressman, write your senator, write your neighbor's congressmen and senators. Who cares at this point? Do something to get people's attention. Get involved in Twitter. You know, I hated Twitter when I first started it. I'm not going to lie. I used to love Facebook. Facebook was easy. It was interactive. It was easy to use. And it wasn't 140 some odd characters or less. But then Zuckernerd decided to turn Facebook into a money-making enterprise. And the next thing you know, nobody's seeing anything that you post unless you pay him for it. And I'm not willing to do that. But another reason I love Twitter is because all of your politicians have a Twitter account. It may not be them that reads it, but somebody monitors it. So get off your ass and tell them what you want them to do. They work for us, not the other way around. We keep giving them all of our control. We keep telling them that we're too stupid to know what we need to do, so we want them to do it for us when it should be the other way around. This country was founded on the idea that we are each masters of our own destiny. We each are created with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This does not mean that we were created for the rights to a car, a house, and food and clothes. None of those things are guaranteed as rights, and they shouldn't be, because once we get to the point where everything is handed to us, we lose all motivation. You don't believe me? Go hang out at Walmart for 5 minutes. Look at all the people on the government dole. Look at them. They have no motivation to do anything. Half of them don't even bother to shower. The other half of them don't bother to change their clothes because they have no motivation to do anything. We were created, whether you like it or not. Yes, I said we were created to work. To work and to worship. Those are what we were designed to do. When we don't do either one of those things, we fall apart. Again, take a real long, hard look at our society right now and tell me that we're not falling apart. What's the matter? Can't do it? Yeah, I didn't think so, because we are falling apart. The point is, and the last thing I'm going to say before we start winding things down, because I got a late start, so I'm already about 10 minutes past the hour, or getting pretty close. And I don't usually use this show to preach, but a lot of you know that I used to be a lay pastor. I never underwent any type of ordination, but I did work with an older lady who got to the point where she wasn't able to keep up with the church any longer, so she asked me to help. So at one point, I actually got to the point where I was leading most of the music worship services, helping with the youth, because we did have a few kids that attended, and at one point we got it a little larger. And then I also started preaching on a regular basis. But this is one of the reasons that I can say to you, even looking at what was going on back then to what is going on now, we have reached the point of no return. Our politicians are only looking out for our politicians. We are only looking out for ourselves. We don't have any accountability at all to our fellow man any longer. And I'm telling you right now, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, part of that is because of the fact that we've allowed the government to step in and become the safety monitor. Once they were able to do that, we took the eye off of our neighbors. Screw them. If they need help, they can go sign up for the government. That's what it's for, right? That's why I pay taxes. But the part that we missed when we stopped paying attention, the part that happened when we started letting them stroke our hair and nice and gently and relaxing us and lulling us back to sleep with their soft words of, don't worry, if something like the Depression ever happens again, we'll be here to pick up the pieces. You just go back to sleep. Don't worry your pretty little head. It's gonna be okay. While they're doing that, what we forgot and didn't realize they were doing is ultimately they have been garnering control. Control has been dispersed to two places. Control has been dispersed to our federal government and to our corporations. And we are in the middle of both of those things. Some of us clamoring, others of us snoring, wanting to know where our freedoms went when we weren't looking. There aren't very many that we have left. You don't believe me? Take a look at the whole search and seizure thing that goes on if you were accused of crimes that have anything to do with any type of a drug deal. Something that really, really shook me a little bit was to find out that around the same time that the Monica Lewinsky scandal broke, the federal government actually admitted during that time that the Reagan administration had been using drug dealers and their money to fund freedom fighters in South America and in Central America, because Congress wouldn't give him the funding that he needed. There were people that died to keep that secret. And we're sitting here arguing because somebody doesn't want to make somebody a cake, while we have friends, neighbors, and fellow believers in other countries that are beheaded on a regular basis, and we're arguing over the fact that somebody doesn't want to make somebody a cake. We have Muslims that torture people, that burn them alive, and we want to argue about the fact that we poured a little bit of water over somebody's face. We have people that flew planes into buildings to prove a point. And we want to argue over the stupid things that we argue about every day. I'm telling you right now, there will come a time when we will each have to stand up. I hit that point a long time ago. That's how all of this got started. I could not sit idly by and watch what had been happening and what I knew had been happening over the last decade and not do anything. It really is that simple. So as I close, as I do every show, I'm going to say the same thing I say to you every night. Even if you disagree with 99.9% of everything that just came out of my mouth, there are things that you do know should be happening. So find a group that you agree with. Get involved. Find a candidate that you can support. Offer to make phone calls. Hand out flyers. Do something. Just get off the couch. Use your voice. Use your talents. Whatever talents you have. And use them to make a difference. Because if you can find a way to make a difference, then you will truly start understanding what it means to be a part of this country, because we have too many people that have forgotten what our responsibilities are as Americans. It's time we start waking them back up. All right, folks, that will do it for this episode of America Off the Rails. I will be back with you live tomorrow from 6 to 7. I do believe tomorrow night, last week we tried over on Liberty Unfiltered, the show that is produced by my company but airs over on Vigilant Liberty Radio. We did try to do an hour with me hanging out with Steve. I think we may try that again tomorrow since it didn't work last week. And then, of course, there will be no America Off the Rails on Thursday, because we will have Wake Up America with myself and Denny C from 6 to 7. Then, of course, I'll be back with you Friday, and then it all starts over again Saturday. So, from all of us here at K98Talk.com, the Spark Radio Network, and TuneIn Radio, and iHeartRadio, I do hope that every single one of you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks to every single one of you that tune in on a regular basis. Thanks to all of you that communicate with me via email, Twitter, Facebook, however you decide to reach me. Thanks for getting involved and trying to find a way to make a difference. Again, I am your host, Rick Robinson. We are going to wind things down for the night. As soon as this show ends, it should go right straight into, I believe it is the Stafford Voice from 405 Radio. It may be a jip because it usually drops into the feed at 7. So we're just going to do this kind of the normal way. So bear with me for just a second, and then I will say what I have to say in case we are joining programming already in progress. So here in a second, you are going to hear my standard show ender. Then we will be shutting everything down. And then at that point, we should be joining the Stafford Voice, which may or may not already be in progress. Again, I am Rick Robinson. It's been a great Tuesday evening hanging out with you guys for the last hour. Be back with you tomorrow night.
Calls. We got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets because there's no one.
Oh yeah, and before I forget, don't forget to tune in tomorrow bright and early for the Family Factor with Denny C. We believe he plans on doing a return episode tomorrow. So don't forget to check that out in the morning too. We're out, folks. You have a great night.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.